Oi everyone, hope you're having a good weekend. Here we see the pink home and there are two sheds, two driveways, two cars that they shared. Dee and Gypsy, this was their property. Because on to the right of this green shed here, there was a grassy and tree shrub section that separated their property from the main road. So no one else had access to the shed but them. And you can see that in Gypsy's video where it switches to the grass. And there's no driveway at that point. So when Gypsy sent this video to Nick and showed him where they could hook up on the property or at the nearby farm, there was no driveway at that point. It had not been installed yet. So this was earlier on in their relationship. Later on, while they lived there, the driveway was added. And you can see when cops take this photo, they have the shed, and they took pictures of inside that shed on the left. But the shed on the right, what's so weird is I can't find a single picture of what's inside that shed. And you can see there's a car in front of that shed too, and it's been roped off with tape so that no one goes back there. Both of these vehicles were owned by Gypsy and Dee. Why did they have two vehicles? If Gypsy couldn't drive and Gypsy was in a wheelchair all the time. Neighbors allegedly say that they sometimes saw her around town not in a wheelchair. Allegedly. And I wish more people would come out and speak on this because only people who saw them have the honest truth of how often Gyp was going out about town. But can I just say, if you have a wheelchair and you put it in a vehicle, you need a van or an SUV. So that's why we probably see the SUV on the left. The shed on the left, that blue shed, is the one photographed when we're looking at shed photos and the crime scene photos. There are two trash cans lined up on the left side of this shed. So when Gypsy walks out of her kitchen, she would turn right. So imagine your Gyp, you walk out of your kitchen back door. It's in the kitchen. You walk out your back door and there's trees, and then you turn your body to the right and there's this shed and the trash cans, and it's an easy way to walk from the back door to the trash cans in the shed. So this whole time people assumed that she was, going from there to the grass, or, the one driveway, but they had two driveways that connect to one and that then connect to the road, which is to the right of the property. But there was a lining of trees, almost like a fence on the right side of their house that blocked them from the view of the road. So they had a lot of privacy and security. So when the cab driver came up to the house, they actually pulled up the driveway. They weren't sitting on the road. So they pulled up the driveway. Gypsy admits in her interrogation that the taxi did come up the driveway. Taxi pulls off the main road, pulls into their driveway straight, and then it splits into two driveways, but my guess is they just stayed there. Cab driver said Nick got out of the car after waiting for 45 minutes, got out and walked to the right rear of the home where those sheds are. So keep this all in mind visually when I tell you about these trash cans. So there are two trash cans. At the time of the crime, they cleaned multiple areas, right? The kitchen, the hallway, the carpet in the hallway. She admits that in the 12-hour interrogation as well. Using the Bissell, they cleaned the carpet. They had to clean Dee Dee's room. We see the baby powder all over the place. But why the kitchen? Why was there red liquid in the kitchen? Because, in my opinion, Dee was not in the room the whole time. Gypsy met Nick for the first time wearing the Cinderella dress, the gown, the blue one, and in my other video I show how Rose read the character. The blue was very significant, the blue dress. And now we see her telling the detective, which, by the way, the detective was flown in from out of state to interrogate her. She goes on telling the detective, what her mom was wearing the night of the crime. Let's listen.
Does your mom normally, does she sleep naked, or does she...
No.
Usually, what does she usually wear to bed?
Nightgowns, but they're sleeveless.
Okay. Was she wearing anything that night that she went to bed?
A blue nightgown. A blue nightgown.
A blue nightgown. And you said that you were cleaning them up from where in the house?
They went in the hall. So, they went from the hall to the kitchen. The hall to the kitchen.
I believe that Gypsy's mom plays the part of Sleeping Beauty and the part of wearing this blue dress, which Gypsy disguises as Cinderella, but in my opinion, it's based on the Rose Red Stephen King movie where they mention Dee's name, John's name in that scene. Nick is there in that scene, and they mention that the girl will be wearing a blue dress and there will be two people in their mid-20s. And then in the scene, he looks at the cup and he says, why do they call her Dee, Emma? It's like this whole thing. And then she would character role Emma Rose, right? So going back to why I think there's more to this, she admits to the detective that she had her mom wearing a blue nightgown, a blue gown. What are the odds of that? Of all the colors she could wear that night, she's wearing a blue nightgown. But let's just say it's just a coincidence. Okay, but why the story about the sleeping pills? We know that Dee's autopsy was not covered by HIPAA because she's not alive anymore. So the autopsy report is going to show everything, the talk screen. It's not going to protect some of the things on the report due to HIPAA if it's a prescribed situation. So, at least from my understanding, that's the case. Dee didn't have sleeping pills in her body. So, why does Gypsy want to name her baby Aurora, possibly, is what we hear Ken say in my other video. And Sleeping Beauty's name was Aurora, and her mom plays the part of Sleeping Beauty by being in the bed asleep, right? She tells Nick the story that my mom took her sleeping pill and she's sleeping. She's asleep, face down asleep. Also, why face down? Most people that are big have a really hard time, when they go into bed, they sink a little bit. They have a really hard time if their face is just right in the bed. They're not going to be able to breathe, right? They'll at least, if they do sleep on their belly, be kind of turned to the side. Well, or sleep on their side, or sleep on their back. Lots of possibilities there, but she played the Sleeping Beauty, Aurora. There is an author named Aurora Rose that I mentioned in my other video. And Gypsy's name is Gypsy Rose. But let's go back to the interrogation. She tells him that she cleaned up in the hallway, in the kitchen, and we know that there's baby powder all over Dee's room. While the kitchen sink is to the left of the kitchen, and the kitchen back door is to the right of the kitchen. The back door leads to this tree area that you see. And the back door, like if you walk out the back door, you're facing the trees. There's trees directly behind the house, and there's trees to the right side of the house that you're looking at here. And the trees kind of act as like a huge ass fence, excuse my language, but it's a big fence with using trees and foliage. So they had a lot of privacy and a lot of security from being seen from the main road where the other neighbors are. Gypsy had this back door in the kitchen, and she's cleaning in the kitchen. How did red stains and red liquid get on the kitchen and on the carpet in the hallway to the point that you have to use Abyssal carpet cleaning liquid or Abyssal carpet cleaner? In this 12-hour interrogation video, posted by Crime for Dummies. They list, Gypsy says in the interrogation to the detective that she cleaned the carpet. And then minutes later, she explains that she used Bissell and the chemical product was in a maroon bottle. And it was for basically cleaning carpet to get rid of pet smell. Oddly enough, in crime scene photos, we see that Bissell carpet cleaning machine. And it looks like it's been used because it looks like it, has stuff in it, like it's been freshly used and kind of dirty. And it's in the hallway where the carpet is, like where it would block walking, basically. And it looks like it was left there, like it had been used and left there. So I think that she didn't just use the bottle, in my opinion, and spray, because it's not like a spray bottle, it's like a pour bottle. I think she used it to clean the carpet, and not just rub it with a towel. Regardless, let's just say she did use towels and use this Bissell liquid to clean the carpets. Why do you have to clean the carpets if your mom was in the bed the whole time? So this is why I think that the bed plays the part Aurora of Sleeping Beauty, and that the stains that she cleaned in the kitchen and the hallway is the path. If you're coming from those two sheds, the one on the far right, if you come from the shed area and you go to the back door, you have to pass the kitchen and the hallway before you get to Dee's room. Just saying. Now, let's go back to this picture with the trash cans. Why I believe Gypsy intentionally, beyond reasonable doubt, set Nick up. She tells the cop that, which you're going to see next in this video, she tells the cop, the detective here, she takes the bins out to the curb because trash day comes early Thursday morning. Now, we know this crime happened, Gypsy tells the detective, on the June 9th. She wants that date to be recorded as the date of the time of death. But due to the taxi cab, we know that Nick got there at 3 a.m, which is technically the 10th, right? So if they finished up and Nick and her leave when they're all done, and they've put the trash out on the curb, that would mean that the trash is on the curb when they leave and head to the hotel. Why is Gypsy not worried about leaving all of the evidence in that trash bin that she wheeled out? All of those towels that had stains and liquid on it from her supposed cleaning everything with Scott towels. Well, it's because she knew that trash would be there within an hour or two, would take all that evidence, dump it, and it would never be heard of or seen again. So why did the police find 2 items in the other trash bin that had not been taken out? Well, those 2 items were one single blue-stained glove, ironically Nick's glove, and like a baby wipey that had nothing on it. So imagine you're Gyp and Nick, you've done the deed, and you're cleaning everything up. We know that she tells detective she cleaned the kitchen and the hallway, and that both of those things lead to Dee's room. That would have required a lot of cloths, right? And then she also used a lot of baby powder, so she threw those away, those bottle containers. There's probably a lot of things she threw away, including maybe her gloves. Or let's just go to the weapon. Nick's weapon could not, the one that cops have, it cannot do a 7-inch wound. It's impossible. So logically, whatever did cause the 7-inch deep wound on her disappeared in that other trash can that was taken out when they left. And what trash came and swooped it up. Now imagine the trash guy, you're swinging by Gyp and Dee's house, and you pick up that trash can on the curb. You have no idea that you're about to dump all the evidence that could put her in prison for life and not leave Nick in prison for life. I mean, do you just wish you could go back in time and someone peeks in that trash can between the time she leaves and the trash comes? It's like an hour or two difference. So the trash bins, there's two of them. Imagine you're Nick, and you guys, let's go back to them being in the house before they leave. Imagine you're Nick, and Gypsy's the one that you give your gloves to. Gypsy's the one who takes you give your weapon to. Well, Gypsy threw everything away in that one trash can that went on the curb. But she kept a glove of Nick's and put it in that other trash can that Nick thought was empty. Do you know why that other bin didn't go on the curb? Because Nick thought it was empty. Do you think he would have intentionally left one of his gloves there and not take it to the curb with all the other evidence? You bet he wouldn't. Okay? He thought that other one was empty. He trusted her. When they're leaving, he's sitting in the cab waiting to go after everything's been done, and he's waiting for her for 45 minutes. I think in those 45 minutes, she had both of his gloves and put one of them in that extra empty trash can bin with nothing in it, put a baby wipe in there to make it look like it was from him, and then packed her stuff and put his weapon in her bag so that she could then mail it to his house with the other glove of a pair. So she has both of Nick's gloves. She puts one of them in her bag to mail to Nick's house and puts the other one in her empty trash can bin. And she knows that the trash is going to come in like an hour or two when they leave. And then she gets in the cab and they leave for the hotel. You can't tell me that she was not framing Nick based on that information. She tells the detective in her own mouth that they took the trash out to the curb. All the evidence went to the curb and was taken out. So go ahead and listen to her now explain that to the detective. She also confirms to the detective that it was June 9th is the day her mom was unalived. She was telling the truth, I think. In my opinion, she knew that her mom passed away on the 9th. And then Nick comes around 3 a.m. and may have, unfortunately, done something completely awful and messed with a corpse. But that's a different sentence than unaliving someone. And that's why these details are so important. All right, let's go ahead and have a listen.
The trash usually passes on a Thursday morning, so we put it out on the curb.
Okay. When did he kill your mom?
On the night of